there are some people in this world that did not tune in to the Alliance Vlog podcast. Shame on you!
Shame on you. My name is Ella Indy, and I'm one half of the NWA Women's World Tag Team Champions.
And I'm Kinsey Page, the other half of the NWA World Women's Tag Team Champions.
And you better go listen to the Alliance Vlog, what is it called again?
Podcast, period.
Or you're ugly.
Pretty
Pretty Power approved. Alright.
Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's the radioactive pop with Daniel Limelight, United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance Vlog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Poppy.
Hey guys, check this out. I am officially now sponsored by Dubby. Dubby is a clean energy drink made to give you focus with no crash. If you guys are like me, you're always needing a burst of energy, especially with one with no crash. Dubby contains vitamins, amino acids, a nootropic, and 150 milligrams of caffeine. It keeps me awake with no jitters, guys. Check it out. Merch link is in the bio. Dubby.
Are you ready?
Power.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
I'm building an alliance. God bless the internet.
Okay, let's party. It's showtime.
It's time for the Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts Kevin Frazier, Jaden, DKM, and J. Cal.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Alliance Guys podcast. For whatever reason, my camera's not working. Should have tested it out beforehand. There it is. Hey, there I am. What's up, everybody? Of course, this is the Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. Of course, we've got Jaden in the house and DKM, but the true guest of tonight, the person we've all been wanting to talk to, is Mr. Barrett Brown, the former NWA World Champion, a man who never lost that title and is finally getting a shot at a title that he never lost, finally getting an opportunity that he deserved many, many years ago. Barrett Brown, welcome to the show, sir. Uh-oh. Barrett, can you hear us?
I have a feeling he's either not hearing you or he can't communicate. He's trying to get through because he was putting his fingers next to his ears when you were talking.
Well, let's go ahead and talk while we wait for Barrett to jump back on. I'm going to pull him out of the stream real quick. And Barrett, we lost everybody now. Well, hey, it's me. It's the JCC. Barrett Brown will be joining us momentarily, having some tech issue. I had some tech issues. Maybe everyone's having tech issues. When Barrett is available to jump back on, we'll bring him back on. Looks like he just dumped off altogether. So, hey guys, welcome to the podcast. How you doing? I see a lot of our friends are here in the house. We got Willie Bowen's here. Mr. Luthez is here. Mandy's in the house. Jeremy's here. Jaden has updated the dog graphic. Wait, is that an event coming up?
No, that was an old one. I was trying to get the graphic to come up, but for some reason on this one, it won't let me change the graphic on when I'm on the auxiliary phone.
I think Mr. Barrett Brown is here. 50 caliber. Barrett Brown, what is going on, sir?
What's going on, man? Harry, that is so much better. I could not hear a thing earlier, so I had to switch my platform.
Oh man, I did such a great job introducing you too. I talked about what a great dude you are and everything you do for the community, and what a good man you are.
Yeah, and I wasn't there for any of it, but I believe you though. I believe you. So I appreciate it.
Well, first of all, welcome back. It's been a while since you've been on the show. The last time you were here, the World Junior Heavyweight Championship had not been reintroduced to the NWA. We talked about at length the history you had with that title, the history of the belt itself,
right,
and how much that title meant to you. And we're going to get all into the history that you had with the NWA. We're going to revisit some of that. We're going to talk about the show coming up on June 23rd with VIP Wrestling in Arlington. But let's talk a little bit about what you've been up to as of late. I know a lot of our viewers We just lost DKM. A lot of our viewers might have watched you as part of New Japan Strong.
Yeah.
You're still holding it down in the Dallas and the Texas wrestling scene. What have you been up to, man?
Man, it's just been steady. It's been busy for me. I've been busy every week. You know, I opened up a training facility where I help train guys pretty much every week. I say active, I say traveling, man, outside of Texas, in Texas, and definitely, you know, New Japan's been my priority for, you know, the last couple of years since I talked to you guys. And, you know, the format's changed a little bit recently where they're kind of focusing on bigger shows in the States now. So some of us, you know, verbal agreement guys, we're not on there as much, but I know that there is a chance that maybe later this year or early next year, I may be going overseas. So there's some cool stuff coming up potentially for me. So I'm just, you know, my motto has always been hope for the best, expect the worst. And that's treated me pretty well so far, man. So that's how I go about pretty much every day. So.
And it's funny because I feel like every couple of weeks something is changing with New Japan Strong, the New Japan in the United States. Yeah. For a while there, you guys were doing TV in Port Hueneme.
Yeah.
It's funny. I have all these connections. I never was able to get down to one of those shows. Then when they were.
And man, it's crazy because out there, you know, during the pandemic, it was so strict, and it's crazy wrestling for one of the biggest professional wrestling companies in the world, but you literally have no fans there. Like It's just you, your opponent, a camera crew, and commentary, and that's literally it. And it's hard to kind of reciprocate. You know, you have no energy to get from a crowd, so you have to generate it yourself and just believe in what you do. And it really it makes you realize how good or how not good you are at this. Like, it forces you to be at your best every time. So it was definitely an experience, man. I will say that.
And you got to gauge the level of excitement too, right? Because like with the no audience there, you just kind of have to like hope for the best. And it's not like they weren't filming like weekly, like they were filming in blocks where you guys were taping for a couple of days at a time, I believe. And then those were released over.
And here's like the crazy thing. So the first time I went out there, you know, COVID was still, you know, fresh and very heavy on everyone's mind. And so like the schedule was literally, okay, we fly in one day, we take the next day to get tested, the next day is off, the next day we get results, and the fifth day you relocate, and then the sixth day you start filming. So it was almost like just a week of downtime where we didn't do anything but just like sweat and wait, like, okay, in 5 days I work for New Japan, now I just got to wait to do that. But you know, a hotel room to yourself just to sit with your thoughts. And I think that was the hardest part of the whole process. So.
And you just said it with your thoughts, right? Because we all sat through the pandemic. We all sat at home for some time. Yeah. We all had that, you know, you had to isolate and all that stuff. But that's magnified when you are in a different town, in a different city, in a different hotel room. You're not in your home. You don't have the comforts of home. Sure, you got technology and a TV with like 100 channels to watch, but at the end of the day, that's not living. That's just occupying time.
Yeah, you're just filling up that time, man, trying to make it to the show. That's it.
So tell me about that opportunity. I know we spoke about that a few years ago when you were on last. Yeah. But like Rocky Romero obviously has a big hand on what's happening with the New Japan USA. They put you specifically in I think a great pairing with you with Mysterioso and Tyler Bateman, and you guys were the Stray Dog Army. Tell me about that process. How did they come up with that? Was that just something creative did that you guys just ran with?
It kind of, in a way, I kind of spurred that on because I told them, I was like, look, I'm doing this thing where, you know, I'm losing every time I get an opportunity, like I fall short. I said, I think that should drive me crazy. And in a way, it started to. You know, I was working for my dream company, but at the same time, I wasn't really getting a lot of wins. And so eventually I turned on my partner at the time, who was Adrian Quest, who I spent a lot of time at the LA dojo with. Like, we were the training buddies at the dojo. So the fact that we got to work together on New Japan was kind of like a full circle thing for us.
Yeah.
And then upon turning on him, then I found out, well, hey, we're doing this thing where we're going to pair you with Bateman. And I was like, oh, well, I love that dude. And then we're like, well, we're going to add Mysterioso too. And then just, we all gelled. It just became a thing. And they're like, hey guys, you're like three stray dogs. Like, let's just make a thing out of this, where you just kind of run rampant over the company. And I was like, man, I'm down. And so then the Stray Dog Army was born, man, and that's history has been ever since.
That's number one. That's awesome. I was slightly disappointed when you guys did come out to my neck of the woods out in Riverside. We did have Bateman, we had Mysterioso, but you weren't on the card, and I was really bummed because the only time I've seen you live was at the 70th anniversary show. So I was really looking forward to seeing you out there in Riverside, but you weren't on the card. But I mean, obviously, that time with New Japan Strong, I always use the adage "steel sharpens steel." You were in the New Japan dojo. Tell me what that experience was like training with those guys. I mean, we see some of them like Clark Connors kind of doing some big things now, working locally with New Japan, but also in Japan as well. And we've seen Carl Fredericks go on to get a deal with NXT. There's a lot of positive movement coming out of that dojo. Let's talk about your time there.
You know, I will say, I tell a lot of guys that ask me about my style and what I do. I always tell them that, you know, Killer Tim Brooks really laid the foundation for who I am. But then I would say that the road and that dojo, Shibata-san, he really kind of built the tower on top of that foundation. When I walked in there, man, you know, I had at the time about 8 years of experience under my belt. But going in that dojo, it was like I had to just drop all that out the door and try to relearn the bare basics, the fundamentals, because that's the style that I always wanted to learn. And learning under Shibata, I would say he is the most intense coach that I've ever met, the best coach I've ever had, and the most knowledgeable in the way that he's able to teach, even with maybe sometimes like the lack of proper communication because of the language barrier.
Yeah.
But you can always feel where his heart is at, where his emotions are, and how passionate that he is about the industry and how much he cares about his guys to improve and to get better. And it kind of, you know, just going into a New Japan locker room, that's how everybody is. They all want to get better. They all care about the business, and they all have a spot at the table for everybody to eat. Like, no one's just out for themselves. And I think that that's kind of a rarity nowadays in the industry. But just going in that dojo, learning under Shibata, I could not have asked for anyone better to like help me build that tower of who I would become.
Now, kind of going back to the Stray Dog Army, did it help you and Bateman gel, the fact that you're both like, you know, from that, I'm not going to say the same state, but the same area, like the Texas and Oklahoma, like, was there any Red River rivalry going on there, or were you guys good to go?
Man, we were good to go. I met him briefly when I think I was still like 15 or 16, just kind of like a year or two in.
Wow.
We met at a show like around the Sherman, Texas area when he was still just kind of like in the trunks, not nearly as many tattoos, definitely not doing like everything that he's doing now. No. But, you know, I just heard about this dude, Tyler Bateman, and the fact that we kind of like came back to become such a force together at New Japan. It was, you know, years ago, I would never thought that I would have seen them again, like maybe at a local show, but not New Japan. So we just kind of joked about that. And we both, talking to each other, we realized that we have a lot of the same thought processes and mentalities when it comes to this industry. And at that point, you know, I was like, okay, this can be very special. You know, we both have like minds, and that can be a very special thing.
One of my most favorite people on earth is Ruby Reyes, who trained a lot with Bateman.
Yeah.
They used to run together, and one of the things that she told me about Bateman is that how his mind for the business is just right there, and you could see it when you watch him in the ring. He's very laser focused, and it's like everything he does, I feel like, matters in the ring. Like, he'll punch a guy, and then you'll see him hold his hand. And I know it sounds stupid, but it's like those little nuances like allow me to buy in, allows me to fall into the what I'm watching. When you see the guy, you know, headbutt somebody and then like stand there like nothing happens, like, come on, man. If you and I were fighting and you headbutt me, like, yeah, it's gonna hurt me, but it's gonna hurt you too.
Yeah, you know, no one wins in a headbutt, and it's those little bitty things that he understands, and it's things that I would pick up on too, like that I kind of picked up on before, but really working with him and watching how he moved, and then just kind of, I think that we kind of grew together, just kind of studying each other and just watching how we kind of bounced off of each other's styles. It was just something that you can't find a lot of this industry, where we were able to just really click. It was just very special.
So New Japan opened up some doors for you, obviously, and there's still opportunities, I'm sure, that are awaiting you. Like you said, perhaps maybe a trip to Japan, I think, which would be incredible. I would love to see you get that opportunity, especially if it's like a best of the Super Juniors tournament. I think you'd be perfect for that. If we go back to the 70th anniversary show, you wrestled a gentleman by the name of Laredo Kid, a luchador. You've been teaming with the luchador and Mysterioso, and also, like, Adrian Quest. He's pretty much a luchador as well. Have you ever had any consideration, now that you've had some time in California and obviously how you dominate the scene in Texas? Have you ever thought about going south of the border and pursuing opportunities that could present themselves with either AAA or CMLL or some of the lucha independents that are out there?
I mean, it's been considered, man. I don't know. Ever since I broke in, going down south of the border, it was always a thought, but it was never like a true priority for me. As much as going, like, let's say, to Japan.
Sure.
Or going to Europe, something like that. I mean, it's definitely on the list, but I wouldn't say that it's as much, at least not for me, a major priority, because it's not my preferred style. And I will do it when I need to, obviously, because I'm a student of the game, man. Like, I want to learn a little bit of everything about every style, so I'm ready for any opponent. But if I had my way, it would be Japan. And so I would rather knock that out first and then maybe make my way down south, if you know what I mean.
Well, in without trying to be like, I'm not trying to sound condescending at all, but you're still a young guy, man. There's still a ton of opportunity.
Oh yeah.
And I have one of our mutual friends on. I asked him to come on tonight because I know that the World Junior Heavyweight Championship is very important to him, and I know you. This is a very important moment for you. So I'm going to bring Kevin Frazier on, the modern day hero. A former World Junior Heavyweight Champion in his own right. I want to bring him on because, number one, he is an Alliance guy, but number two, I know that you guys are close. So, Kevin, welcome to the show, buddy.
Hey guys, glad to be here. Glad to be back on my home stomping grounds. I can see DK is pleasant and happy as always.
You've abandoned us for baseball.
Of course, Jay's driving that train, and my man Barrett. I really have enjoyed your promos and stuff lately.
Thank you, man.
Leading up to this match, and it's I'm excited for you. I don't know if I have any encouraging words to say about the Morton family, but I can definitely tell you I've got some very encouraging words for you, and so. I don't know where you guys are on the conversation, so maybe catch me up and we can chat a little bit.
Well, we haven't really discussed the title match, but we're getting ready to talk about Barrett's time with the NWA, and it's, man, you're really putting it all out there, Barrett. Like, you kind of talked about the fiasco with the replica title, and I mean I guess the statute of limitations might have expired, but man. I popped when I read it. I said, "Oh shit! I can't believe he said that." But at the same time, it's like, if you know, you know, and if you don't, it's still kind of an interesting story. But tell us a little bit about that, receiving a forged title when you won it without even knowing that.
I think that's what has surprised a lot of people, is because I'm not the type to really go public about anything negative. Like, I'm very positive. I try to keep my social medias professional and clean, because I mean, with the culture we live in, like, I try to keep it as clean as possible. But when this came up, I decided that it was time to lay everything out there. Like, I needed to make people know what this actually meant. And so August 12th, 2017, I won the championship in Dyersburg, Tennessee, from a gentleman that I will not name for obvious reasons, because I don't want to give him that platform. September 26th, 2017, I had to send the championship back because of the ownership change with the company. So about 3 days later, I got the call from the vice president at the time, David Lagana, who I sent the title to. And he checked in on me and he was like, man, I have a question for you. He said, so the title that you sent me is the one that you received? I said, yeah. I said, I've got, pictures and video of that night. He said, great. Send me every picture that you have. Send me the video of the match. And then I need you to get a statement notarized and send that to me too. Because the guy that you beat still has the real belt. He gave you a Pakistani ripoff title that was custom made. So he never showed up to Dyersburg with the real championship. And the next day when I sent everything, I got a call again from David. And he said that because of what I sent, he was able to use that proof and get police involved and got the title back. And not making it public, when he went live online that night to talk about the future of the company because they were rebranding, you could see on the background in his bed, he was telling me he had it because on his bed in the background, he had the real title that I never held.
Does that burn you a little bit?
Oh, so much because, dude, I'd spent 7 years up to that point. Like when I broke in, my original trainer was an NWA Mark. And we would always joke about, maybe one day you'll be the world's heavyweight. I'll be the world junior heavyweight. Killer Tim Brooks and his history, just everything that I had done, it felt right that I was even in the conversation to be the world junior heavyweight champion. You had champions like Kevin Douglas, like Kevin here, who was a phenomenal champion who beat me a few times in our bouts for the championship. But the fact that they put it on me, and that was a dream come true for me. That was everything that I worked for. And I didn't have a last name going in. It was all my hard work, blood, sweat, and tears put into that. And it was my holy grail, man, if I had to, chalk it up to anything. And the fact that after I shipped it off, that I find out that the entire time it was never the real physical title. I went through, I think, every negative emotion a human being could go through. I talk a lot about how this business can be very rewarding, but also very disheartening. And that was probably one of the lowest moments for me because I could not imagine, someone stealing my life's work from me like that.
Yeah. Hey, if it makes you feel any better, not only do I own the belt that Kevin had when he was the world junior heavyweight champion, I own that bootleg belt now.
Do you really?
Yeah, I was looking for a second,
way.
but it's buried under some other stuff. But yes, I own that bootleg belt. I own the belt that you held, and I own the belt that Kevin held. So
I had wondered for 6 years what happened to that title. Unbelievable! Wow.
It's in a closet in a box right now.
How did you get the belt, DK? Who did you have to shoot?
It's a long story, but somebody contacted me that they had a belt for sale, and I was looking at it. It's like I go, well, I know that's not the original. Yeah. He goes, no, and he goes, but it was ring used, and so he was real coy about kind of what it was or whatever. He wouldn't say. He goes, there's some stories behind it.
Yeah.
And so I went out and dug out the stories and found out basically everything that Barrett just told us.
I'm glad that as I tell this story that someone can confirm it, because I have countless messages from people that are asking me if this is a fabricated story.
No,
it is 100% true.
It's absolutely wild, and I knew about this story because of the old vice president. I had a pretty good relationship with him, and he confirmed all of this.
Yeah.
I don't think we talked about this on the last podcast because I don't think we wanted to jeopardize any potential.
Yeah, no, it was all under wraps. Like it was all top secret stuff at the time. So I'm glad it's coming out. It's crazy.
I'm just glad I own it. I like junior heavyweight belts. So.
I'm glad it's in good hands, man. That blows on my. I'm mind blown right now. I'm glad I know where it's at. That's crazy.
Well, it's really interesting, the NWA Junior Heavyweight Championship drama, because I don't know if you guys remember. I'm sure you guys remember if we bring it up. But when I won the belt, the prior champion took the belt to Japan. So I didn't get a belt until Percy Pringle or William Moody awarded me the belt in Louisiana, which had been the champion for, a little over a month or so, maybe 2 months.
More than
yeah.
that.
So I don't remember the exact like time and stuff like that, but yeah, the drama behind the belts, and then to hear this, it's just it doesn't surprise me. I just wonder. It just blows my mind that kind of stuff is important to people to do stuff like that, when in reality, any really good wrestler who's been in the business long enough, that's been trained properly, knows that, belts don't make wrestlers. I mean, it's a work. So, I mean, someone's putting the belt on you. It's not, you're not winning the belt. I mean, it's your accomplishments that win the belt for you. So it's just bizarre to me that in a business like where you'd like to think that it's just bizarre. It's just this crazy to hear a story, but it certainly does not surprise me, because there was the same kind of stuff going on, when I was working with the NWA. I'll tell you this, Barrett, when I saw your video, I started laughing, and I half-heartedly was like, man, you talk too much. Like, the NWA, they blackballed me, man. They like all I did was give an opinion after the belt went on to Ricky Morton, and I wasn't happy about it. I started calling it the senior title, or the Masters title. If you don't know, the Masters is like the 15 over category of bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Because I just wasn't. I felt like it was kind of a disgrace to the title, and maybe you guys remember that, maybe you don't. But what's funny is every year. So that video is not on YouTube, but every year it was on Facebook. So every year that when that comes up, that video pops up in my memories feed, and I rewatch it every time. And I'm gonna be honest with you, it gets better every year. Like every year, I look back at that video, and at the time I was like, man, I can't believe I just did all that. And then like now I look at it, I'm like, I'm glad I did that. I'm glad I stood up and spoke up and said, how I really felt, because looking back, nobody can take away from you what you did. They may try to discredit it, but no one can take away what you actually accomplished. So, for you, Barrett, the reason you were the champion was because you were the hottest thing going at the time, and you deserved it, regardless of whether you got a replica belt or not. You're the champion. And I truly believe not getting a chance to ever, wrestle for your belt again after you've won it. I know how that feels as well, because when I lost the championship, when I was stripped of the championship, I never got a chance to wrestle for that belt again, after my cage match with Chase Owens, in which was lost in controversial fashion. So I never really lost a clean match. And so I know how it feels, and I'm really glad you're getting your chance. I'm gonna hold off more statements until everybody else has stuff to say.
It sounds like to me that DKM just needs to promote an event and just have Kevin Frazier versus Barrett Brown, and put those two belts on maybe like a ring up and get a ladder, or maybe just the winner of the match gets to hold both belts or something like that. That seems like what it should go. I think that's what it should be. What about you, DK? What do you think?
Muted, DK.
I love the fact that he's muted. That's the best he's ever sounded.
Hey, you're muted, DK.
I didn't win them, but they're mine.
What I want to know is, how come you haven't got that Cloverleaf belt yet? I mean, you got the other two. Come on now.
I have a version of Cloverleaf somewhere, probably in the same box
I figured they'd be displayed in your in a boxes above your bed or something, man.
Dude, there's not enough boxes for all the belts I have.
Yeah, but the good ones.
Well, okay, so then let's talk a little bit more about the time that Barrett you spent with the NWA. what a lot of people might not remember is you were coming off a really hot gimmick as Americos before you came to the NWA and started wrestling in that junior heavyweight division. Talk about the transition from becoming a masked wrestler to a unmasked wrestler and what you had to do to kind of you're blurred out, man. There it is. That's pretty.
Lasertron belt, not the original copy.
Was it ring used though?
Well, I guess I could put it on somebody and let them go into the ring with it.
Give it to Barrett. Have him wear it into the show.
Dude.
Real controversy. That would be great controversy.
So what I'll say about the whole Americos thing was that was never originally my idea. So when I started performing for traditional championship wrestling under Matt Riviera, I was still, very young, still had like no hair. I was still I just graduated high school. I just looked very young, and they wanted to push me, but they also wanted to have a masked wrestler on their show. So they gave me the idea for the Americos thing. I came up with the outfit, and we did an angle where, Barrett Brown was hated by management. He was kicked out of the company. Well, and then you have like the Dusty Rhodes Midnight Rider, where Americo showed up the same night that Barrett Brown was kicked out of the company. And it just appealed to the kids, man. And it opened doors for me, and Americos was squashed by Braun Strowman in my Raw debut whenever that whole thing happened. And so for a while, I thought Americos might have been my primary thing. The thing is that because it wasn't really my idea, my creation, I never fully put my entire heart and soul into Americos. I always wanted to be me. And so when I, really put everything into this whole 50 caliber thing, when I started really focusing on my body, my look, and my craft outside of the mask, and the NWA got the notoriety, they were like, okay, well, because at one point they were going to put the World Junior strap on Americos. I did not want that. I was like, if I'm going to do this, I want to do it as Barrett. And so I put everything into me. And thankfully, I got more traction than Americos did. I was able to get out of the mask, get rid of it, and focus on me. And so the transition was not hard, man. I think the transition from being myself to the mask was harder than getting out of it. I think the transition going back to just being me was so much easier. It was more of a relief than anything else, to be honest with you.
Okay, so here's the important question then. Americos wrestled in a WWE ring, and Barrett Brown got put through a table by the Dudleys at Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame, yeah.
Yeah. So which is a bigger deal? Americos wrestling in the WWE ring, or Barrett Brown getting put through a table?
Well, Barrett Brown also wrestled against AOP in a tag match on Raw too.
Oh,
so Barrett Brown's done a little bit more than Americos at this point. Thank goodness. So
that was probably when I wasn't watching.
By the way, I think from now on, you need to start talking in the third person. I just think it's a little bit cooler. It adds an edge to you. So Barrett Brown should just talk in the third person.
It's like a rock thing now, yeah.
Heck yeah. So let's talk about your time in the NWA, because again, it wasn't just as World Junior Heavyweight Champion. What a lot of the new viewers who have recently discovered NWA in the last few years, the Power era, they don't remember or they don't know that there was territories that were set up, especially in the Texas area. There was a lot of promotions that were working with the NWA. And then, of course, like in the Southeast as well, I mean, promotions in Tennessee, promotions in, all kind of in the Southeast there. What kind of what kind of schedule did you have working for the NWA in those, the end of the territories for the NWA? That makes sense.
Honestly, I wouldn't say that it was much different than the schedule that I have now. It was just there were so many affiliates, man, that it was almost like every other show you would attend might be an NWA event. Not to discredit them at all, there were just so many affiliates at the time and so many titles that were just only on those affiliate shows. Because I held various NWA affiliate championships, like whether it be a tag team or another junior heavyweight, but it wasn't until the end of the Bruce Tharpe era where I won the main World Junior Heavyweight Championship. So it really, I think that having all the affiliates, in a way, I think that it kind of watered down the name because it was literally everywhere, and it didn't seem like a lot of shows weren't as big of a deal as maybe other affiliates, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it was just, I don't know, it felt like another show at times. But then you had, like, let's say when I met Kerry Morton on the 4th of July 2014 in Benton, Arkansas, they had a huge event, NWA Summer Clash, where ironically enough, Americos, myself, was in a 6-man tag with the Rock and Roll Express, Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson against the Empire. And that's the day that I met Kerry Morton, a 13-year-old kid who was rolling around in the ring getting his bumps in for the day. The main event of that show was Steve Anthony and AJ Styles. I mean, they had big shows, but to me, having all these other affiliates, it just felt like a normal independent show. But not to say, man, because like whenever I wrestled, actually Kevin in Houston at NWA Houston, we had a great match down there for a great crowd. And, you had NWA Texoma, where I was a regular at. They were just, you would find it everywhere, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of looking at Cage Match and seeing some of the matches that you had while a part of the NWA. I mean, Andy,
you'll probably find some that I forgot about, to be honest with you, man. I'm sure Kevin's the same way.
Andy Dalton wrestling against Steve Anthony, who would go on to win the junior heavyweight title, wrestling against Sigmund, who had challenged for the junior heavyweight title even recently, teaming with Kevin, wrestling against Kevin teaming with Tim Storm, wrestling against Tim Storm.
Yeah.
You just mentioned that Summer Clash where you were taking on Greg Anthony, Matt Riviera, and Tim Storm, the Empire. So, I mean, you had a lot of, I'm sitting here looking and well over 70 matches under the NWA banner between, being yourself and also Americos.
Right. Not just that, but some nights Americos and Barrett Brown wrestled.
Yeah.
Double duty, yeah.
And Americos was a face and Barrett Brown was a heel.
Yeah.
Did you get 2 paychecks those nights?
You bet. You bet I did. Come on.
Nice.
I knew my worth. Come on.
Absolutely, man. And so that whole process of being a part of the NWA, especially in the Southeast and the whole Dallas territories, kind of got you ready to become World Junior Heavyweight Champion again. You beat a guy who we're not going to give any credit to. We're not going to say his name, but you only held that title for a brief time, but you had quite a few defenses once you won the title. 2 months is not nearly enough. You could have had a lot more had the NWA not changed ownership. But again, that's another can of worms. That's another podcast. But do you feel like your legs got cut out from underneath you because of the ownership change?
Slightly, I would say so. And one of the main reasons is because that was around the time whenever I was really adamant about making my presence on social media a thing. I wasn't very good at it before, but I've gotten a lot better at it. And due to the ownership change and due to them not knowing what was going to happen in the future, I could not publicize my defenses. So it was like announced at the shows, but we could not like make a graphic about it. I couldn't say it publicly online. So I had to wait till the day of the show for them to say like the following contest is for, the championship. And I hated that, man, because I was like, man, I want to talk about this. Like I'm, this is my dream and I can't talk about it. I don't know. Yeah, that was hard. Just not being able to publicly talk about it was very hard for me.
It seems like what you're doing right now and what you've been doing, leading up to this opportunity on the 23rd is exactly what the NWA would benefit from as it stands. I mean, getting yourself over isn't always easy, and doing it in a format where you haven't posted any matches, you haven't posted any hey, this is what I've done. Like you're basically told the story of what happened. You've had a few promos, and people are excited about it. It's not just the folks that are watching this podcast. There's the people who are talking about Barrett Brown never lost that title. Yeah. Do you feel vindicated because of that? Do you feel validated because of that?
I do, and I'm glad that you said the word validation because that's a good segue to what I wanted to say. What I do want to say is that there are a lot of people that they kind of look past this match just because, Colby Carino has been crowned the contender at the NWA. And I get that. It's almost the same thing as if, like, if they announce, let's say, Roman Reigns versus, let's say, whoever, or AJ Styles at a pay-per-view, but 2 weeks before that, they have a house show where he's got to defend against, Rey Mysterio.
Right.
And it's almost like a given that he would retain against Rey, But the thing for me is that this has gotten so much notoriety. The NWA, since I've told my story, has followed me again on social media. They have been sharing my information. And I tell people that doubt my match with Kerry, I tell them, who is the last person you can think of outside of their company that they have both followed and shared their posts? I said, who is to say that I'm not signed by them right now? Who's to say that we haven't had conversations? Who's to say that we're not going to pull a trigger and shock the world? I said, there are a lot stranger things that have happened in this business. And I said, because conversations have happened and nobody knows what my contractual obligation is right now. I might be signed, but no one knows.
Right.
I said, but like I said, they don't really publicize defenses outside of their company, but they're making a big deal out of this one. But that's up for interpretation. We'll see what happens.
Well, I mean, look, as someone who follows the brand, I don't think anyone follows it closer than I do. And I mean, I've seen matches where Kerry's going to go wrestle he just wrestled. He defended the title in Innovate Pro Wrestling.
Yep.
There was crickets. We did more to advertise that show here on the podcast than
he's apparently wrestling Crazy Steve this weekend. I had no idea about that until I dug, but they haven't said anything about that. But they continue to push this one.
Yeah, I would say for sure, it given that there's history there, and I think that's a huge factor that makes it interesting. But I would also say you're what's making it interesting, because, well, I mean, like you just said, Kerry's having defenses elsewhere, but there's no story there. And this is pro wrestling where the story is what makes a title run or really what makes a match is what's the story. And so there's a great story here. And I think I like your angle because really and truly, that was the first. My first thought was like, well, NWA is the one that has everything to lose here if Barrett gets this, gets the title. But I also think, in a way, if you're as a company, and NWA, I think is in a position here where, as a company, if you're confident in your brand, this kind of stuff would be great for it, because it puts it kind of, and again, let's just say for instance, let's just say you are signed. It's even better if that doesn't get brought up if you do win the title, and it shows out as kind of this, rogue character that kind of shocked the world, because again, the one thing professional wrestling needs to be good is it needs a suspended disbelief. And a lot of times, that gets lost when you have companies that just, work within themselves. Right. So again, it kind of puts a situation where, as me, just being a fan these days, it kind of makes me go, well, it's like, yeah, but I mean, would they were not going to put the title on Barrett. But at the same time, what you're talking about is really good. And honestly, like, that's something that you probably should be saying over and over again. And it also lends credibility to that story, because you have been the champion. You haven't been defeated. And the other thing is that I'm glad that they're not running from the match. A lot of times these situations in wrestling, they try to just bury it, just kind of under the rug and pretend like it never happened. And they'd stay 1,000 miles away from you because, like you have a story to tell that they don't want being told. So I think there's a lot of intrigue here. I think for me, that's why it caught my attention. Obviously, I follow you on social media and, keep up with what you're doing. But for me, I watched your video a couple times, and it's just the irony, Barrett. I don't know why these things keep happening, but like our careers and the things like that. Just the irony of it all. It's just kind of bizarre to me. I mean, controversy with the belt. The other being the only other guy in Texas to, hold a singles world championship in the last whatever many years.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess Tim Storm counts too. I don't know why I don't think of him as. I don't know why I don't think of him as a Texan. Maybe I'm not giving enough credit here.
He's from Pine Bluff, Arkansas. That's where he's hometown.
That's right. So he's technically not a Texan. So listen, Arkansas and Texas ain't the same thing. So don't try to tell me that, or Oklahoma. Don't try to do that to any of us. So no, I think that it, you know, for me, the irony of it all is kind of great, in the fact that this is coming against a Morton, who obviously, you know, a lot of controversy has come from me being outspoken about, you know, being a fan of Ricky Morton when I was a kid, but not being a fan of Ricky Morton today. It's just painful to watch as watching Ric Flair to me. It's, you know, it just, and I've been very candid about that on this show. So it's not like I'm breaking any news here that, you know, I think guys like Ricky Morton need to stay outside the ring. I'm happy to see finally that he's letting his kid get some limelight instead of stealing it all himself. And I'm happy to see that. But Barrett, I'm gonna be real here on the show. And again, you don't have to respond to me because I have nothing to lose, and maybe you do, but you're like light years better than Kerry Morton, like light years. And speaking candidly for me, like, his name is the reason that belt's on him. You're where you are because you're awesome. You know, when I saw you wrestle at the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, like, I guess it was 2015 or 2016. And I want to say that the main match was like Tokyo Kagas and Jake Logan was the match. But bro, your match was like, you guys absolutely tore the house down, and like, you were getting genuine crowd reactions, not like, you know, hometown, you know, cheap pop, you know, cheer for the good guy, boo the bad guy. Like people were watching, were really genuinely deeply moved by how good what you did was. And at that point I was like, man, Barrett has really come a long way. I mean, like, it wasn't just the moves too, it was the conviction behind like what you do and your belief, like in your character, and in Barrett Brown, the 50 caliber, like there's a belief there, there's a conviction there. And so again, like, quality of matches, like, to be honest with you, I don't think Kerry Morton can have a Barrett Brown match. And I think, you know, you got your hands full in that regards. But as far as from my perspective, like, if it's Kevin Douglas, like, I'm gonna go beat him up. I mean, it's just that's just gonna be how it's gonna be. I'm gonna go beat him up, and it's gonna look like a good match, like a good pro wrestling match. But, you know, he'll always remember me. And so, and again, that's not advice at all. But I do know that, you know, you got to be Barrett Brown, you know, and I would just be that for sure. And again, I think that's what I wanted as a fan want to see, is just Barrett Brown, you know, being Barrett Brown. And if the old man happens to be there, you know, you throw the old man a tater in the middle of the match, you can say that was from Kevin Douglas. So
real quick,
that's my 2 cents.
Real quick, I want to jump in on this because Sam Retro posted, when I saw Laredo Kid versus Barrett Brown at the NWA 70, I became an instant fan. And that was the first time I got to see you live too, Barrett. And I just have to think, you know, to echo, you know, Kevin's sentiments here, how good you are. And we're talking, he brought up a match that was from 2016. I'm bringing up a match that was from 2018, and you've only gotten better. Again, training in the New Japan dojo, you know, the LA dojo, training, you know, under Shibata. You have a fire that not a lot of people can match. And I think, you know, whether you like Kerry Morton or not, he's going to have his hands full come Saturday night, June 23rd.
He will. And, you know, I will say that a lot of what I do now, and maybe, you know, before I was more about, you know, making, you know, having a cool moveset or whatever, but this is more about making these moments. And the notoriety that this has gotten online, I've told people, I said, this has the potential to be something very special because this is something that really no one does. If you look at the independent scene right now, what other story is being told outside of Barrett Brown and Kerry Morton for this championship?
Nothing.
And, anything that I do now, because I tell guys that I help train, the difference between what we do and MMA is you go to MMA to watch someone get knocked out, you go to watch blood. You come to us to feel something. You come to us to get a story told, and you feel emotion. I said, this match, if we can match the emotion it already has, I said, this has the potential to tell a fantastic story and to bring out a lot of emotion from that audience. I mean, I literally have people that have bought plane tickets to fly in for this match alone. So there's an obligation there to tell them and to paint this picture for them that they're never going to forget. And so with that said, they're going to get the best version of Barrett Brown that they could ever possibly get.
Mr. Brown, I have a favor to ask of you.
Absolutely.
When you defeat this paper champion, please check the authenticity of that belt this time, okay?
I'll check it this time. Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll check it. Yeah.
But maybe grab it and maybe bite it.
Yeah,
just gnaw on it a little bit, make sure it doesn't bend. Yeah.
Yeah. Make sure the leather's actual leather, stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
Show it to DK. He can tell you. DK's the expert. He can tell you.
Yeah, I'll be there. I'll let you know. If not,
Okay,
I
cool,
got
yeah.
a copy of it somewhere around here. So,
Yeah, we'll compare it. Yeah.
That's pretty high quality. Hey, I want to say this real quick. I've seen Barrett Brown since he was bald-headed, and I was going to say clean-shaven, but I don't even know if he was using a razor yet.
Right.
So I have literally watched this guy grow up in the business. When you're 54, you get to do that a lot nowadays. I remember young, shaggy-headed Kevin Douglas too. So, I mean,
BK was there when David beat Goliath.
Pretty much. I was a teenager, but look, I've been able to watch him grow, and I don't really know how he's gone from bald to having more hair than my ex, but it has been very fun to watch, and so it will probably be a really good match. And if it's not, it won't be because of Barrett. I'll say that much. We know he's going to entertain us. He has been pushing it out there. Go find his videos if you haven't. Go check out his social medias. This guy knows how to put things over. He's kind of got, we talked about Billy Silas and how he's, he does the little things. Barrett does the little things. He's talking about going back to him to learn the basics. People, I don't care what you can do in the ring. If you can't do the basics, if you can't do the basic moves in the ring, if you can't do the basic promos, if you can't do the basic facials, it's for naught. I've watched this guy grow up here. I've seen what he can do. I hope he gets in Japan. And I hope he takes a nice shiny belt with him. Because let me tell you, he's worked hard. And you can't say he wouldn't deserve it.
I appreciate that, man. I will say that the video that I posted today is a teaser for a bigger video that is going to come. I'm going to continue to post little breadcrumb screenshots from that video as the week goes on up to the match. And the video will not fully air until the match. I have a very special entrance planned for the show. The few people that have seen the video that I plan to air at the show, I've shown them in confidence and top secret. They have all cried when they watch the video because it tells a story of me having the title taken away from me. And I need my thought process in this is that if I'm going to tell this story online leading up to it, I need to appeal to every fan that knows my story and to every fan that may not, that are there for their first wrestling show. But I made the statement, and I meant this, that even though we are not the last match on the card, this match is the main event for the emotional aspect of it alone. And I'm going to make sure of that.
Hey, let me tell you, this is what I always say. I don't care where any match is placed on the card. The main event is the one that people are paying for.
For sure.
But whether you put it on first, with WrestleMania, what's going to be the main event? What's going to be the main event? Meaning, what are they going to put on last? Doesn't matter. What am I paying for?
Yeah.
When I go to that show, I'm not paying for it. I don't even know what the other matches on the card are. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But, Yeah, I'm going to see what I think is going to be a great match.
Well, a lot of us went and watched All In, not because we were fans of, the Young Bucks or Brian Cage or whatever. We wanted to see Nick Aldis and Cody Rhodes for the 10 pounds of gold. And we were shocked that night. And that wasn't even close to the main event. And I feel like on a night like June 23rd, it doesn't have to be the main event for you to shock the world. You know what I mean? Like anything could happen in that ring. And I think a lot of the momentum, hopefully that this is creating, is providing the opportunity. I hope the NWA is paying attention. I hope Billy is paying attention and looking at what the people are saying. You know, they just wrapped up their Crockett Cup, and they did their episodes of Power, which were essentially like recaps of what happened at the Crockett Cup. And the thing that he left off saying, which I found very interesting, was that this NWA doesn't have to be like the old NWA. It doesn't have to be what we all of our preconceived notions are of the National Wrestling Alliance. And at first that really got me bothered because I'm one of these old NWA diehards and I've been following it for so long. But that also means that if you can do things differently, if you can see things in a different path, and the stories that you can tell and the matches that you can have, then why not try something different? And who knows, like June 23rd, just a few days away. It doesn't, the whole world doesn't have to stop and the whole world will keep going, but things could happen. And I think we're all pulling for that here. I did want to talk to you a little bit about, and I don't want you to spoil the video, of course. Obviously, that's something that's very important, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. But I want to talk about, you showed up at the 70th anniversary show. You put on a hell of a match with Laredo Kid. We've mentioned a couple times already. When you were on the podcast with us a few years ago, Kevin and I, we talked about, hey, Power started. How come you're not on Power? Like, why haven't they brought you in? And then you had a very fair answer, very political answer at the time, and you said, hey, I'm just waiting for my opportunity. If it comes up, I'll be excited for it. And at that podcast, we were talking about the junior heavyweight title specifically, and it hadn't been rebranded, brought back to the NWA yet. It was still sealed. It was still a closed history. You were still the final champion, to hold the final man to hold that title. They brought the title back,
right?
And they never so much as mentioned you as a former champion on TV. They didn't bring you in for the tournament. They didn't give you an opportunity to challenge on TV. Talk about what that did to you mentally, and does that carry some weight that you're going to have for Saturday?
It carries some of the most weight going into next Friday, just because.
Friday. Sorry.
You're good. But it carries some of the most weight just because when I talk about the broken promise, that's exactly what it is. Because after I made sure that they got their real championship back, I was promised two things. I was promised, A, if the title is officially retired, that I would be the final ever. And number two, if it is brought back, I'd be the reigning and defending. And then you fast forward about 5 years after that promise is made, and they announce the tournament to crown a new champion, and there is not a message in my phone, my emails, no spam files. I'm never contacted. And I noticed, there were a lot of people that were plugging me directly to them on social media, and I was always ignored until now. Until this has been brought up, and until I made my story very public, in which, I could have done that a long time ago. I could have easily tried to go into business for myself and make that tournament more about me. But I think that now that the tournament's over, now that Kerry Morton has the championship, and now that I'm choosing this time that I have a confirmed championship match with Kerry, I think that this was the perfect time to tell the story and not to really give anything away. But to kind of just like stir the intrigue, I will say that the social media manager, that Billy and that Pat, they all directly see what's happening right now. And there is some intrigue. And I will say that I have created doubt with a lot of people that have told me that there's no way you're going to win it. And when I tell them what's happened, they said, wait, what do you mean? I said, I guess we'll find out. And then they're like, wait, you may win. I said, I might. They said, you never know what's going to happen in this business because they are directly talking to me right now. So I think, again, it's special because this could spur a new age of the NWA. This could be a catalyst for, again, how they're going to change things in the future. But I guess we'll find out on June 23rd when I face Kerry Morton for the title that I was never beaten for.
You know, the NWA, the junior heavyweight division was kind of like, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the NWA in the slightest, but you know, they focused on the heavyweights. That was kind of what separated them from everyone else. And we all kind of bought into it. It made sense. Now you had guys like, at the time, Ricky Starks, who could have been a great world junior heavyweight champion had the title been presented. You had Matt Cross, again, a guy who would have been a great world junior heavyweight champion had that opportunity presented. Even Caleb Conley was a part of the NWA when it first kicked off. And again, another guy who would have been an excellent addition to the junior heavyweight division. But over the past few weeks, we've noticed that I say weeks, I mean months, the division is slowly starting to come together. And you've got guys like Joe Alonzo, you've got guys like Homicide, the former champion, and you're starting to see the division kind of take some shape, take some form. I said it on record, I said it on Twitter, and I'm going to say it again to you. The division is good. Let me say that again. The division's starting to get good, but I think adding you to the mix, win, lose, or draw on June 23rd, bringing Barrett Brown to that junior heavyweight division brings a lot of credibility to that division. And I think anyway, whatever happens on the 23rd, you know, by them acknowledging that you exist means that they know that you're out there. And I really feel like they'd be stupid to not bring you in. They'd be dumb not to have you as a part of that junior heavyweight division. And it's not like they don't have guys who work New Japan Strong. I mean, we see Kratos doing double duty, working New Japan Strong, also working for the NWA. In the past, we've seen other talents from other promotions also continue to work in the NWA. Man, I'm going to say it again. The division will be better with Barrett Brown in it.
I appreciate it. And I mean, you know, who's to say that I'm not going to be that, you know, forbidden door that's going to bridge that gap with that World Junior Heavyweight Championship and take it to Strong, maybe take it to Japan for Strong. You know, we add another dynamic to that. We kind of create another partnership there. I mean, in my head, this story, which, you know, at the base level is all legitimate. You know, there is no real base storyline, kayfabe thing here. This is all legitimate stuff. There is money to be made here. In my head, I think there's a lot of money to be made here. And if there's a way that that everyone can profit from it, then I say, why not? And I don't think that I'm the only one that thinks that way. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, I want to chime in here, and I haven't been as loyal a follower of the NWA product as of late as, you know, I was maybe a year ago. But one of my criticisms of the junior heavyweight division is that, you know, especially working for a company like New Japan, I think it stands out more than more so than most. But the junior heavyweight wrestling is a style. It's a specific way that you wrestle. It's not just doing like moonsaults and floor dives and stuff. There's a specific like way that junior heavyweight wrestlers not just wrestle because that's the way you're supposed to, but because we can wrestle that way, as were other wrestlers with different sizes and different talents, but not those specific skills. They can't wrestle that way. So it's a way to differentiate yourself on the show. And one of the things about you that when I watched you wrestle, I think that's something, especially when you're doing like one-on-one matches against, one of your contemporaries, like another wrestler of your stature, it's very true to the style. It brings a unique representation of the division, but it's still, again, and I can't like sit here on the show and like try to like articulate what that actually is, but I think you and I know what I'm talking about. It's just a thing. Like there's just certain, it's kind of like really good women's wrestling, especially like Japanese women's wrestling. They do moves differently. They sequence things differently. They pace things differently, just certain things, And so I think your style of wrestling, and you have that ability to kind of wrestle that brand. I think it'd be vital, a vital addition to the NWA, just because again, let me give you guys maybe a good contrast of like what I mean, because you can go back and watch WCW during the Brian Pillman cruiserweight era, or whatever it was, the junior heavyweight division era. Right. And then you can go and watch WCW cruiserweight division, the Rey Mysterio, Chris Jericho era, and you can definitely see the difference if you kind of watch those matches against each other of how what I'm exactly talking about. Yeah. And so again, I think you have that ability, and I think it's a quality that you can bring to the company, and I think that you can have matches that a lot of the guys that are on their current roster, they can't have those matches, but if they wrestle you, they can. And that's something that you can actually bring, and they can start to learn that and have those kinds of matches. And again, I'm being ambiguous here, but I think but I mean, I know Barrett knows what I'm talking about. Like again, when I watched, like I said, the last time I watched you wrestle live, for sure, I just was like, man, like he truly gets it. Like he understands, because there's the easy way to get a pop, and then there's the hard way. There's the one, the stuff where you get the guy over here booed, and then you get then this guy over here is going to get cheered, and then he does this and you do this, and then yay, good job. Yeah. But then there's the other thing where it's like they're not saying anything, and you go through a sequence of things, and that sequence ultimately kind of crescendos into a series of moves or an emotion or a specific moment that you've intended to happen. And they genuinely respond, right. not a pop from a house show pop, but like a wow, like wow, I've never seen that before, or I've that was just incredible, and they just can't help but respond. And so I know that's a skill that you have, and I think it'd be a vital skill as an addition to the NWA, and it might get my $5 a month back.
Actually, it's free now. It's back on YouTube. I know it's been a bit, but it's free now.
There you go. That tells you, that dates me.
But as you guys were talking there, you talked about that title and that division itself, and how like some of looking at the history of that title, like even going all the way back to the 80s, that history, the lineage of that junior heavyweight championship has traveled to Japan quite frequently. I mean, at one point it was part of the Super J crown that Ultimo Dragon had. At one point, it was defended quite regularly with Black Tiger Mask and Tiger Mask 4 in New Japan Pro Wrestling. It's had some time back in Japan with Jushin Liger and Steve Anthony, and that title has the title. It's so weird because it's got this deal with New Japan, and I'm not trying to promote this as like a New Japan versus NWA thing here, but it has such a staunch history with New Japan Pro Wrestling. It's so weird, and it's like it even in times when the NWA is thought to be lean or on its deathbed or gone, you have guys like Rocky Romero wearing that championship in Japan. You've got Chase Owens wearing that title in Japan. You've got Steve Anthony wearing that title in Japan, and it's like, well, if Barrett Brown happens to become champion, there's a good possibility that title could potentially end up in Japan again. And we talk about getting notoriety to the NWA. Kerry Morton took that title to Mexico. Kerry Morton took that title to Australia. These are all awesome things, and I'm not trying to downplay them at all. But there's a big difference between going to Mexico and going to Australia and walking into the Tokyo Dome as World Junior Heavyweight Champion.
For sure. And, you bring that up, and I've told a few people, there's been a lot of time since this title has been over to Japan, especially for New Japan. So who's to say, with me being kind of a part of New Japan right now, who's to say that I'm not going to be the one that's going to take it back?
I'm not trying to stir the tea leaves, right? But Rocky Romero is very much an important part of New Japan USA.
100%.
Rocky Romero is a former NWA World Junior Heavyweight Champion. Yes. Rocky Romero understands the value of that championship belt. Again, I'm not saying anything's going to happen here, but I'm saying it could.
I would say that if there's ever been a legitimate threat to the championship outside of their company, this is the biggest one they've ever had.
100%. I don't think that's even up for debate. Jaden, you're being quiet. What do you think?
I think personally, Mr. Brown just needs to take that title and make a statement. And if the NWA doesn't have him sign, well, if they take the title, they have to do something to get it back, right? And I can't wait. Honestly, I joke around with DKM, but I was actually messaging him about seeing what we can do. I'd like to see Kevin Douglas versus Barrett Brown. I might fly out to Texas to see that.
Fly out to Texas.
I'm sorry. Scarneck. And yes, I did the hand motion too, even though you can't say it. But yeah, I'd love to see that. And you know what? What about Barrett Brown versus Homicide? Since he's the true champion, he's never been beat. Maybe he should have to defend his title that he never lost against Homicide first before Kerry Morton even gets a shot.
You know, it's funny. You mentioned Homicide. I had a long discussion with him at a New Japan taping about my story with the championship. I think it was right after Kerry had won the championship. We were talking about it, and I told him, I said, I was the champion before the ownership changed. He was like, wait, you were? I said, yeah. He said, so you were never beaten? I said, no. He said, bro, there's a good story there. I said, no. I said, what are you talking about? I was like, I know there is. And then I told him the story about the fake championship. He was like, bro, is that true? I was like, dude, 100% real. He's like, that's another story, bro. I was like, dude, I know, man. Like, so it's, dude, if there's a man that I respect in this business, dude, I respect Homicide so much. I respect what that man's done. And I've been in the ring with him a couple of times. Some of my best matches, some of the most fun I've had, some of the most intense matches I've ever had. So I would absolutely love to take that title from Kerry Morton and defend it against Homicide. Let's go.
But and that's the thing too. Like, you've had some matches with Homicide, but never with the junior heavyweight championship on the line. So Who knows, man? Who knows?
Yeah. When Barrett successfully defends against Kerry this Friday, or the Friday the 23rd, the Friday the 23rd, right? Then he can defend against Homicide. Then he can beat up Colby Carino. Then he can get Kevin Douglas out of retirement and put another scar on his neck. Yeah.
I don't think Kevin's
then he can beat up DK and take his replica belt back. I'm booking this. All right, this is Barrett Brown World Tour. Barrett Brown Revenge.
Barrett Brown Revenge, yeah.
Barrett Brown versus
let's
the
go.
world. And then you got to go to the Tokyo Dome and defend it against, I don't know, somebody.
Go find where 01 is and take that belt back too while you're at.
Jeez.
Yeah, that might get me out of retirement. But I'll be honest with you. I probably couldn't get cleared for a wrestling match, but I'd definitely be in Barrett's corner if you ever needed it. All day.
I appreciate that.
So you mentioned Homicide, and of course, Kevin is one of your staunch supporters. Have you heard anything from Tim Storm? I mean, you guys used to tag team together. Has he mentioned anything to you? Could he put a good word in for you? Because I mean, if anybody, that guy's a former world champion. He should be able to snap his fingers and get you a deal, anyways.
I mean, man, I know a lot of guys there. Rodney Mack, Jax Dane, Tim Storm, the Hawks family. I mean, there are a lot of guys there that I've done very close business with, that I have become good friends with. So I think it's another way to use that benefit of the doubt. I again have a lot of people there that could easily vouch for me. So again, I'm not going to spoil anything, but who's to say that they haven't already done that for me?
What do you think of the current NWA? I mean, it's very different from what the promotions that you used to wrestle in, the promotions that, obviously Kevin used to wrestle in. What do you think of the NWA as it is today? And is it something that you feel? I don't want you to say anything that might get you in trouble later.
No.
That you respect.
I do. I respect what they're doing. I think that it definitely stands out. I think that it is a good mix of like an old school feel with the modern day of professional wrestling. I think that they do a very good job of mixing those two things together because it still feels like an old school show at the end of the day. You're still watching modern wrestling. But like you guys said, I think that they could definitely use a little bit of a stray dog of some 50 caliber style up in there on their shows. And so maybe one day I'll be in there and I'll add that to their junior division, once I take the championship back.
When you regain your championship, or even when if something happens and they screw you out of it, if you're ever in New Jersey, let me know, because I know the promoter of Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators. So does Kevin Douglas. He can probably put in a good word for you. And I think the stray dog needs to come to Dog maybe sometime soon.
Hey, I'm down, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'll let you know.
And I can vouch for you. The guy will take really good care of you.
Cool, man. I appreciate it.
And this time he'll make sure that you get a good ride and not some jackass who doesn't know what he's doing.
He won't leave you. He won't
was
leave you
great.
abandoned in the airport. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the payday was fine, and the flight home was fantastic. So, absolutely no complaints there. I do want to take a second. I've seen some of the guys in the chat just pop it up and saying hello, and I just want to give a quick shout out to all the crew in the chat and tell those guys I miss them all, and glad to be back home.
And go follow him on Texas Rangers baseball.
Yeah. If you guys,
sure, yeah.
You guys like
Speaking
baseball.
of Rangers, we got a 2-2 barn burner in Texas right now, Jay.
Yeah,
the Angels in town.
Yeah, they stole one from you guys on what was it? Was it Monday? They stole one on Monday.
Yeah, we're trying to keep it even, keep the series even tonight. So I got the game right here, but I'm keeping an eye on things. But yeah, if you do want to follow our podcast, you can catch us on social media at TX Rangers WTB or Texas Rangers with the Boys on your favorite podcasting network. We get paid the most from Spotify, so might be a little partial to that one. So
that's dope.
Go check us out on Spotify.
You get paid for this?
Yeah, you figured it out. We figured a few things out. We figured out the algorithm.
I should have went to your school. Barrett, we appreciate you so much, man, for coming on today. And you're welcome to stick on. We're just gonna talk some more wrestling if you want to be around here and hang out with us. And Kevin, I don't know how much time you have left. If you want to hang out too, you're more than welcome to. We're all rooting for you, Barrett, on the 23rd. I keep saying Saturday because to me Saturdays is the day that you go watch wrestling, not Friday. Yeah. I apologize for that. It is Friday the 23rd. It's gonna be a big show in it's in Arlington, right?
That's right.
Arlington.
So it'll be in Arlington, Texas, at the St. Jude Hall. It'll be VIP Wrestling presents. The show is called Catch These Hands.
I love it.
And again, not the final match, but the main event of that night will be Barrett Brown versus Kerry Morton for my NWA World Junior Heavyweight Championship.
See, your championship. That you finally got it right. Your championship. You never lost it. It's his responsibility to beat you because you're the champion. He's the paper champion.
He's the challenger.
Yeah. I mean, one of the Alliance guys is actually going to be there to watch the match. So.
And Friday
maybe
night,
two.
What?
Maybe two. I mean, I live in Arlington. So.
Lance Romance is going to be hanging out with Kerry.
Lance Romance will be there with Kerry. Yeah.
That's gonna be.
So we might need someone to keep an eye on him.
So
I told you, Barrett, anytime, man.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, I told him I'm going this one alone, so he can bring whoever he wants, but I'm walking out with the title. So.
And I want to also point out in the video description, there are links to all of Barrett Brown's social media, his website, his YouTube channel. Make sure you go like, comment, subscribe on those YouTubes on his channel. But of course, Facebook, Barrett.Brown.50, Twitter, TCO_BarrettB, Instagram, TCO_BarrettB, YouTube, you get the picture. And then, of course, ProWrestlingTees.com, the T-shirts available, Barrett Brown 50 caliber, and then also the website, BarrettBrownPro.com. Make sure you go check that out. Again, this is a people's champion here right now. You've got a groundswell of support. You know, Kerry Morton has done a lot with that title, but he never beat you. And I think regardless of what anyone thinks about Kerry Morton, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And your shoulders were never pinned for that title.
100%. We'll find out on June 23rd because, like I said, that's the day that everything could change for the NWA, for me, for Kerry, for pretty much everybody involved. So it'll be a special night.
And Friday night's in Texas is wrestling night.
Friday
Am I right?
has become like a big wrestling night in Texas, yeah.
Yeah, it's been since going back to the Sportatorium days. They used to Friday night the Sportatorium. And now it's Friday night is when you get your belt back. Well, a belt.
Yeah, it's poetic.
You know what? When you win it, find out what happened to the original, and you should take that one back too.
Yeah, I'll try to. Well, I mean, at least now I know where my replica went after all these years. So I chalk that up as a victory tonight. So
wait, if you win the title, can you change the design and go back to the belt that you never got to actually hold? Because I think that would be kind of poetic.
I do wonder where that belt is. I wonder who has it. Lagana, Billy, private collector in Japan. I mean, you know.
The last that I heard, I think that it's in the NWA office. I don't know. I don't know if after this new design, if it has been taken elsewhere. But the last that I heard that it is actually in the main office of the NWA. So I don't know if that's still the case or not. But whatever it may be.
I don't know if I have a leg to stand on when I say this. And of course, this is just me trying to stir the pot. But I really think DKM should bring the replica belt and have you bring that out to the ring. I think that would be just amazing. I think that would be so amazing.
Well, I think with you guys talking about, you know, the replica title and everything like that, I think you'll be interested to see the video that I have in store.
Can't wait.
So yeah,
if you give me a heads up, I'll make sure to post that on our actual website as well as share it on all our socials too. Because again,
definitely, regardless of what happens on the 23rd, I'll make sure that video goes public online on the 24th. So the whole video will be available the day after the show. Yeah.
You gonna post at the same time you post your victory speech?
What do you mean? That is his victory speech. He's already got it ready. He's super confident. He's got this. All right.
So we have to talk about the NWA now? Since when this was actually fun, do we have to ruin it?
No, we don't have to talk about the NWA at all. This was talking about the NWA. In fact, it's kind of, you know, everyone's here, so I'm going to go ahead and say it. And Barrett, you're more than welcome to stick around too, brother. But think about, and I kind of want to get everyone's opinion on this. We've been talking about the NWA television show POWERRR for about, I guess, 4 years now since it debuted. And even during the pandemic, we found things to talk about with the NWA. But one of the things that I think brings the most value to our viewers would be more stuff like this, more interviews, more talking to the people that are part of the rich history and the rich tradition of the NWA, whether it be past, present, or future. And I don't know, man, I kind of want, you know, I'm doing it publicly, but I've been thinking about this a lot lately. What do you guys want to do? Do you guys want to continue to talk about POWERRR, or should we start looking at doing more interviews like this?
Well, you know me. You already know my answer. I don't even watch POWERRR. But
once Barrett Brown wins the title, right?
Yeah, well, that'll give me a reason to watch it at least. You know, but other than that, you know, let's have some interviews. Let's have some history. And you know, if we talk about what's going on with the NWA, let's do that too. Who says we can't have it both? It's like the tacos. Why not both?
There you go.
I think that's one thing that adds, you know, like legitimacy to the whole wrestling thing too. Like as a wrestler, I see all these guys that, you know, they talk about what they're going to do, but they got to scream, they got to growl, they got to make some kind of like an unnatural voice. And like, I feel like the most genuine way to connect to somebody is talking like I'm doing right now. I'm just talking to you guys. Like this is just a real conversation. And if they can apply this to their promos, that I think that adds more of a realistic aspect to anything they could talk about. To me, I'm taken out of a lot of these promos whenever the guys just kind of scream at a camera. You know what I mean? So I don't believe in a word they say at that point. So, I mean, they try to add emotion to it, but it's more in like what you're feeling behind the words rather than like how loud you are behind what you're saying, if that makes any sense.
Oh, yeah.
Well, these guys on here know whenever I hear the word tonight, I'm out.
That's it. Checking out.
If you say tonight, I'm done.
What about, you know?
There it is. Tonight.
Tonight, Kevin Douglas, it's me and you.
Yep.
What if I sing it?
Yeah.
That'd be better.
I can bring out some. I can bring out some Genesis style.
Years and years ago, the junior heavyweight champion Craig Classic, who had that belt and took it to Japan, whatever. Basically, he abandoned the NWA, and Kevin was the following champion after that. Before he did all that, he was on the podcast, and he was an interesting fellow. I didn't know much about him, but I wanted to talk to him because he was doing some pretty cool things with the junior heavyweight title. And when he came on, every other sentence was, well, and it's an ongoing joke between me, DKM, and Jaden. We start saying, we're talking exactly about Craig Classic.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, or the other, and that's just how it's going to be. Just your typical, phrases that you hear.
Well, let me tell you something.
Yeah, but tonight, that one's that's when I'm like, click, next. Next, get up, go to the restroom.
I call those the comfort words because that's like your segue to think about what you got to say next.
Yeah.
Well,
guys, I'm gonna pop off of here. I feel like I'm getting the Iggy from the wife.
Uh-oh.
So wait, well I can't do that if Jay's just gonna jump off and leave.
Oh, you said you were out, so he's out, dude.
He's like he heard I was gone, and so he's gone.
He's abandoned.
Wow, that was a quagmire right there. I can't jump. I can't leave and not say bye to.
I'll hop off for the same around the same time you do, man. I gotta wake up.
There he is.
No fun.
Jay, you don't have to leave just because I said I gotta go.
You know what? I had to shed a tear, but I didn't want to do it on camera. So we're hey, first of all, Barrett, again, appreciate you being on here. Absolutely, we're rooting for you on the Alliance blog and all of our listeners and followers. I don't know a single person who's rooting for Kerry, and I don't even dislike Kerry Morton. I think he's a great dude. I can't wait to see this matchup. I hope it somehow makes its way to YouTube or some sort of pay-per-view service because I'll certainly put down my $20 to see it. Kevin, man, I'm so happy that you were able to jump on with us tonight. You're always welcome to do it again. I know this one was kind of important for you to be on, so I do appreciate you being here, buddy.
Absolutely, and love being on here. Barrett, good seeing you, man. I maybe I'll be out there next Friday night. I have to ask the boss first, but yeah, really good seeing you guys. You guys know that we're family, and I always appreciate everything that I keep saying. Now, guys, like
I don't trust you. I'm picking up on
it. I can't talk anymore. Jeez, no.
Saying it a lot tonight.
You can't talk tonight. Yeah.
You can't tonight. So, Jay, DK, Barrett, Jaden, tonight. It's been a pleasure. So, I'm going to get on out of here. Love you guys. And Barrett, maybe I'll see you out there next Friday night.
Sounds good, man. Be safe. Take care. Good to see you, man.
All right.
You will,
Ken.
I got you.
I don't know how to do this.
I got you.
Just kick them off. That's the easiest.
Yeah. That's what I just did. I feel bad about it, but that's what I did. Barrett, again, thank you so much for your time, man.
Thank you, guys. This was a lot of fun. I'm glad that thank you guys for giving me the platform to continue to help tell the story leading up to the 23rd. If there was ever a time to do it, I think that we picked the right time. And I appreciate the support, guys. It means a lot to me.
Go give them hell, brother. Go give them hell. Win, lose, or draw. Give them hell.
Will do, man. Thank you for your time, guys. I appreciate you.
We appreciate you. And that's Mr. Barrett Brown. What a fun conversation, DK. We didn't even have to talk about Power.
Oh, was Power on this week?
Not really. That's one thing that I did want to mention. It's like I spent, what was it, $45 for the pay-per-view? What was it?
I don't want to talk about that.
I do because I'm kind of pissed off. I mentioned it on the pre-party. I bought both nights of the pay-per-view. I was excited to do so. I actually thought it was a really good pay-per-view. I hear our contemporary Tim say that it was perhaps maybe the best pay-per-view of the Lightning One era, and I don't know if I'm prepared to go that far.
It wasn't.
But I was extremely disappointed that the matches that I paid for, the $45 that I paid for, were basically put up on YouTube the following night. I don't mind if that's the strategy going forward. If they want to do a set of TV tapings where you could pay for it in advance and watch it all at once, or watch it as they parse it out through Power. But I just felt like that was very disappointing. Like, I paid my money to see a pay-per-view that I thought was exclusive to me, and then the matches are now airing on Power. I mean, I didn't like the way that felt.
Yeah, that wasn't the best. I don't like that they're doing that. But then again, I paid money when I shouldn't have. And
I saw it free.
I didn't miss the previous pay-per-view like some people.
That's a zoom. That's what's way too close.
I thought you were going to be like the fast food secrets guy to give us some kind of tea there.
That dude is hilarious on TikTok. Or no, I'm sorry, I'm on Instagram.
Yeah, I'm an adult. I don't watch TikTok. I wait for 2 weeks later when it shows up on Instagram.
We mentioned. Yeah.
We should have a counter.
We should, but I don't know how to do that. If you can figure out a way to do it, I'll happily do that.
Well, I bet you could look it up on Google.
I'm sure.
You might be able to do it tonight.
No. Okay. So now that the two other Texans are gone and we just have our normal one Texan, let's talk about it for a minute. You guys feel like the interviews mixed in with a little bit of NWA talk? Like, we don't have to necessarily break down every minute of Power, but we could talk about what's happening.
Why don't we leave Power to the other guys?
We need to hire some other guys. No, Tim and Jeremy and Dave have a great show. If you guys aren't watching it, you're really doing yourself a disservice. I love the fact that they covered USA so in-depthly. This week they actually covered both nights of the Crockett Cup, so we didn't have to. I didn't know how long we would have Kevin on for. I didn't know how long we would have Barrett on for. So I said, you guys go and cover the pay-per-view. We'll talk about what's going to happen on the 23rd.
What's it, Friday night?
Friday night, yeah. I keep saying Saturday, and I know that's not right, but I can't help it.
It's probably from all my promos, like Saturday night at the Max Fit Sports Center, located at 240 Delsey Drive South in beautiful uptown Rustic, Glassboro, New Jersey.
You're not going to be able to say that anymore. It's going to turn into a pop farm. That's what I heard.
Yeah. Well, maybe our next event there will be called High Times.
Sure it is. Maybe you can get them as a sponsor. We've got the dispensaries are promoting shows out, or not promoting, sponsoring shows out here in Southern California now.
That does not at all surprise me.
Okay, so what do you guys want to talk about?
Well,
Well, actually, I don't mind talking a little bit about the Crockett Cup.
Okay.
Because I want to get your opinion.
I did watch it. I might as well talk about it, I guess.
Real quick. Did the right team win the Crockett Cup?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. That was the Crockett Cup talk for tonight.
There we go.
Let me spit the water out. This close.
I want to know your overall. This is what keeps it from being the best pay-per-view for me is that they had a lot of good matches, but they had a few weird endings.
They also had a lot of stories they didn't even take a part of. That makes me wonder how, unfortunately, with Barrett Brown, they don't apparently know what to do with a good story.
Okay. But like for example, they once again had the World Tag Team Champions, or the same World Tag Team Champions from last year.
Yeah.
They once again had them have a match where one of the partners was legitimately hurt.
Which one was that one?
So they end up in a 2-on-1 match, and then they lose the next match. And this time I wasn't as interested in the team that they lost to.
It was what I felt. And again, if you watched Power, which I did, it was weird to hear Billy's explanation for giving them the number 1 seed this year, where last year he's like, I didn't give them the number 1 seed because I didn't think they were the best tag team in the tournament. And I get why, like, I get it, right? But like, you're the goddamn owner. You're the owner of the company, and your tag team champions you don't feel are the best.
Yeah. And then, but it was just basically it was like the same story from last year for those two. I didn't get the disqualification with Max. I mean, why that match needed to end the way they ended it. And it was like, that was just bizarre. And they had a few, not just tournament matches, but even some of the other matches that just seemed to kind of like end out of nowhere. And it was like, okay, well, I guess it's over now, isn't it?
Was it weird to you that they had M95 defend the tag titles against Angelina Love and Max on night 2? I know it was part of the pre-show, but was that weird to you, or was that like, were you fine with that?
It was weird because it was like the epitome of acknowledging that we have no tag teams.
More so than that, to me, it's like you just had Max in the men's tournament last night, and
right.
Now and I get it. Like, that's kind of the joys of being non-binary, I guess, is that you could be in either division. But it felt kind of odd to me. It's like she was in the men's tag team tournament last night, and now she's challenging for the women's tag titles. And again, I know you kind of paint yourself in a corner with the whole non-binary thing, and it is what it is. But like, why is Max even losing to? I feel like Max should have been able to beat M95 by herself.
Yeah, and it was just. Well, and here's another thing. Let's take some thought, and maybe wrestling fans don't have a lot of that, but you're basically acknowledging you have this thrown together tag team that was obviously thrown together at the very last moment for a title defense because you had Max in the tournament. Well, what if Max had continued? What if they had won?
Yeah, she wasn't. If we let's put on our marked hat on, right, and know that everything happens on the fly. Yeah, to your point, they should not have had her in that match because if they would have won their match against Adonis and Tyrus, they should have advanced and could have potentially advanced to the finals. So she should have been booked, obligated somewhere else.
So that was that was a weird thing overall. And they had a few other weird things. I was glad they had Ricky go heel. Could have done without Bobby Fulton.
I get that you want to, and that's the thing. It's like Billy keeps saying, "Oh, we're acknowledging the history." I'm like, that's great, but let's get these guys who are past their ability to wrestle off the microphone. Like, I don't need Austin Idol like knocking out Scion. I don't need Austin Idol knocking out Jordan Clearwater, right? Yeah, he's got brass knucks. I don't care. He's old. I'm not saying that old people can't do things, but come on, man.
Well, and again, then you're almost left with this whole, okay, what's going on? He's no longer with Tyrus.
No, the only person he's now currently managing apparently is the Nega Scion or whatever they're calling him. I think they alluded to being maybe White Noise on Power, or which I think is not a smart name for that guy, especially because he's wearing a black mask. But they also mentioned, just Ion, I think, or I don't know.
I don't know who, what, where, but it was one of those things that left me going, oh, great, I never wanted one. Now I have two.
The real swerve is going to be when it's Robert Anthony pulling off the mask and being the fake Scion. That's how they're going to swerve it.
Well, I was almost, it's funny because they were talking about, Sion's put on weight. He's, done this or whatever. And then this other guy kind of comes out and I go, let me guess. Somebody else replaced Sion at some point, and this is the real one.
Yes.
I'm still not 100% sure that's not a story that Billy would tell.
Dave Scooby, he said this on the podcast yesterday and saying it again. Sion and his step half twin brother.
Yeah. Exactly. Identical. His half step identical twin.
2 steps removed.
So, I actually know 2 sisters that were identical, but they were also cousins.
Because they married their parents were twins, or what?
No, one father impregnated both sisters around the same time. So they were sisters and they were also cousins. The one sister didn't know about the other sister, but
what kind of hillbilly stuff are you talking about, brother?
No, just slut stuff.
Oh, well,
I'll laugh at that, but I knew a guy that had once been with 2 sisters, like 2 nights apart, and they both came to him later and go, I think I'm pregnant. He's like, oh, shit. Luckily, neither one of them were. But, yeah, I still give him a hard time over that, come to think of it. But anyway.
We're going on different tangents. Let's get back to the pay-per-view.
Grandpa?
Yeah, well, okay, so I do like the idea that Murdoch's won the tournament. I don't think they were my finalist. I think they were probably most people's finalists. I honestly thought La Rebellion was going to win it all, I think. But did you like the way that it set up a couple of potential challengers for La Rebellion? We've got
who beat La Rebellion?
Blunt Force Trauma. BFT. And that's the first time that they've beat La Rebellion because they've had matches with them in the past. So that was the first time they actually got a victory, and it was, almost the most important time. Although I guess being World Tag Team Champions would be nice too. But then they went down to Knox and Murdoch. And do you feel like that's the tag team that they're going to go with into the 75th anniversary, setting up a match between them and La Rebellion?
It's who they should. I mean, right now, if you ask me, La Rebellion's time has passed, and nothing against the guys. But we don't see them a lot. They're not used a lot. Part of it's, I'm sure, because they have other commitments of other places. And I have no problem with them as a tag team. But I think maybe the time has come. They're not in the same boat like with Camille, where I can continue to watch Camille win and not have an issue with that. I'm kind of ready for a change in the tag team thing. And I think it's something to do with Murdoch. It kind of takes him back to his roots of tag team wrestling.
Yeah.
With him and Cade.
100%.
I have come now to start enjoying Mike Knox as part of this team.
Yeah, I never thought that would happen, but me too.
Yeah, and so it was one of those things where I hadn't really cared about Mike Knox. I won't even say I disliked him. I just didn't care. And so now this team is kind of, sudden, and they got them together, and two big old hosses, and their finishing move is cool enough and everything. And I'm kind of like,
sorry.
I was just going to say, I'm kind of like, hey, I'm kind of into this tag team. And it's something, the World Tag Team Champions sometimes are the best tag team around. And sometimes there are two good wrestlers who mesh well in a tag team that kind of gives them something to do. And I don't have a problem with that. They did it with James Storm and Eli Drake. Of course, the mistake was they should have put the title on Drake.
Yep.
But he might win Money in the Bank now, so.
He better.
And I think this is something that putting the belts on them, I think it works.
Oh, you're froze.
Has a lot of big men. They got a lot of big teams, and I think this gives two big guys in there a chance to kind of work with some of those teams, and beat the snot out of them, which is kind of like I like to watch in wrestling.
Jaden, did you want? I just noticed the counter. Jaden, geez, and he's updating it. Jaden, what did you think of seeing Knox and Murdoch? I mean, initially, I thought this was an awful idea because I'm not a big Knox fan, but they worked very well together as a tag team. And I'm not saying that Knox is anywhere near the level of a Lance Cade, but Cade and Murdoch should have won the World Tag Team titles back in 2008. Do you think that they're finally going to exercise those demons and we're going to see Murdoch and Knox win the tag titles?
Yes. And I do, and I think it's a good thing. The one thing about Murdoch is he hides some of Knox's inadequacies very well. And Knox is in there at the right time, at least what I've seen in the Crockett Cup. So Murdoch is the ring general, the tag team specialist, and he's bringing Knox along with him in that situation. That's why I like it. And if we're going to have the Arby's theme of We Bring the Meats, the idea of Murdoch versus Blunt Force Trauma and other maybe Jack Stane and a big guy and some other big, huge guys beating the crap out of each other does kind of give me something hopeful with the NWA.
Would you like the do you like the pairing of Jack Stane and Blake Bulletproof Troop?
No. They don't look like they should as a tag team. And the name Bulletproof Troop is just, it doesn't pass the name test. I think if they were going to do something like that, they should have gave him a name that's more online with Jack Stane or something, put Jack Stane with somebody who is more on the line aesthetically to work with the gimmick.
Like Crimson?
Crimson could have worked, honestly.
No,
if he wasn't, now I got to change the thing. If he wasn't in trouble with his big mouth and in the wrong places at the wrong time and stuff and other things he's had a problem, then yeah, I could have been. Talos, no, I definitely don't want to see Jack Stane and Talos.
No, I think Luthez wanted them to fight each other again.
Okay, as long as Dane kicks his ass in like 3 minutes.
What about Dane and Slice Boogie?
That'd be interesting. I don't think it's still stupid name-wise, but the tag team physically. Actually, if anybody really would work with them, I really wanted crap, I just lost his name. The big African American gentleman who we like.
Watts?
No, the one in the NWA.
Mims.
Mims, yeah. Give him a first name.
Matthew.
And have,
Matthew Mims.
Matthew Mims. It still doesn't work, but we could still figure something around with that. But I think him and Dane would actually make a really, really good tag team. Or who I'd really like to see is Jordan Clearwater, because that would be more like a Brett and Anvil style a tag team.
I like that, actually. That's actually a pretty good one. I did some fantasy booking in my head this weekend, and I was like, who would? I think at this point, I don't like Draper and Mims anymore. I think that the time for them, if you're going to do something with them, you should have had them win the tag titles from Country Gentlemen, the U.S. tag titles. But the fact that they haven't pulled the trigger, I just think it's time to let that go. Let Draper go, do his thing. And Mims has kind of been on a losing streak. I feel like if Jay was booking the NWA and you've got this guy who has a history of tag team wrestling, has a history of kind of, mentoring talent, manipulating talent, however you want to say it, I think Bully Ray and Mims should partner up, and it's starting off as a face tag team. And I think you bring Bully Ray in and say, hey, look, kid, you got what it takes. You just need the right direction. And you get this mentorship that slowly turns into, a manipulation. And then you have Mims and Bully Ray fighting at some point. I really feel like that's a good way to help put Mims, make Mims a better contender in the NWA. Hey, you guys can tell me that was awful, but then I want to talk about something else real quick.
I just honestly, though, as much as I like Murdoch's, I still wanted Thrillbilly and Murdoch to be a tag team.
That's a guy you should have put with Dane as a tag team.
That doesn't work. Too different in that Dane needs to be a heel, Thrillbilly needs to be a baby face.
Gotcha.
Although he's probably about to be a heel.
Yeah. Hey, this just handed to me in Boca Raton, Florida, with Boca Raton Championship Wrestling, who has done some stuff with NWA talents in the past. They're presenting on July 19th in Boca Raton. Maybe Fred can go visit that show. It's called Boca versus the World. And on this card, it's a very interesting lineup. You have the television title defense when Tom Latimer defends against Noah Kiowa, who we saw show up in the NWA at the Chicago tapings. Thrillbilly Silas Mason will challenge Mark Long. LeKay will wrestle against Odinson. Kenzie and Kylie will take on the makeshift tag team of MJ Jenkins and Natalia Markova. You'll have a World Junior Heavyweight Championship match if he retains in Kerry Morton taking on Alan S2S Martinez. The Island Kings will wrestle again.
See, the NWA doesn't want this out, so there's obviously blocking Jay from talking right now.
And Joe Alonzo and Jamie Stanley. And Bull James and Gangrel will take on Jack Talos and Daisy Kill.
Greg, do you want to tell him or should I?
Tell me what.
You froze during your promo, like around the tag match.
The whole thing?
Around the tag match.
Bull James and Gangrel versus Talos and Daisy Kill, or the Island Kings versus Mike Knox and Trevor Murdoch?
That one. Yeah.
And then also to have Ariel Levy versus Joe Alonso with Jamie Stanley. You know what's funny is you guys said that and my whole computer froze and I thought we lost the whole podcast. So I'm glad it was just a second.
Well, I thought it was me because my computer will freeze and I can still see me moving, but you all stop. And I'm like, great, my computer froze, and then I hear Jaden talking. I'm like, well, I guess not. For once, it wasn't me.
Well, thank God. But that's I don't know. That's pretty much gonna do it. I mean, I feel like 2 hours is a good time to stop. And we had a great talk with our old pal Kevin. We had our old pal Barrett Brown on. That's the second time he's been on. and we talked a little bit of NWA. So I feel like that was a good night, something we could hang our hat on. Is anything you want to talk about, Jaden? Anything you could share with us about the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators?
They recently just uploaded a few matches from the Rowan College of Burlington County event. There is Dave Dahl and Dylan Mesh versus Vinny the Fixer and Falaba. And we find out that Falaba is Patch's cousin. I never knew that. And then, yeah, they look just alike, don't they? They're twins almost. And then you get to see the absolute mecca of physical and athletic physiques as you see Dad Bod take on abs. They are the pinnacle of physical form, true athletes. And also the third match of best of three between Goldie from the New Japan Dojo and Marvelous. And I know there's going to be another match updated soon. It isn't updated. It isn't been uploaded yet, but it's in the process.
You said the New Japan Dojo. I thought he was from the Monster Factory.
He's from the Monster Factory too, but he actually spent about 4 months in New Japan Strong before they decided they're not going to do the weekly things anymore.
Oh, bummer. Okay. All right. Well,
he flew all the way out there to do some stuff, and then he had to come back.
And that's available at the YouTube channel for Dog Pro Wrestling, which is in our featured channels here on the YouTube channel for the Alliance blog. So you can find it very easily.
Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share.
Yes, please.
That helps our algorithm, and we're a few hundred short of 1,000. Let's see what you guys can do to help us get there.
Yeah, it'd be great. Maybe we could do a giveaway to help get Dog to 1,000 subscribers. That'd be kind of cool.
If we get to 1,000 subscribers, DK will yell at your clouds.
If we get to 1,000 subscribers, you get Jaden.
Thanks.
I don't know what you. I'm making sure the winner of that contest is real cute. That's for sure.
DKM, how can folks follow you on the socials?
Why would they want to do that?
Gluttons for punishment. They want to yell at the clouds with you.
Okay. At DKM FWTX.
And that's Jade Unmasked for 1,000 subs. You know what?
Yeah, we'll keep, if he doesn't get to 1,000, he'll unmask.
If he'll come on the camera and he'll take off the mask and there'll just be another mask underneath it. The man of 1,000 masks.
I'll be that Anthony guy you were talking about.
Oh, yeah. Hey, so again, appreciate you guys tuning in and joining us. We'll be back next week. Of course, we're working on some more interviews. In fact, we are in talks in early negotiations to have Kerry Morton come on this podcast. Probably that'll be the weekend that Jaden and DCAM won't be here. Also, we're reaching out to Mecha Wolf, and hopefully we can have him on the podcast as well. And we'll, I think we're going to try to find some more interviews to do. I think this is a lot of fun having that content on here. And that's what I'm hoping we could do more of. But that's going to do it for us now. I'll be here Tuesday, regardless of if there's an episode of Power or not. The other guys will be here on Wednesday, regardless if there's an episode of Power or not. And DK, I think you're going to be on the other Alliance guys next Wednesday, right?
There's rumors going around that I might be there. So who knows what kind of hell will break loose.
If he sets enough alarms.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Which does remind me, small apology for the hell that was last week. For those that don't know, I was supposed to host the show and got home, grabbed a bite to eat, sat down on the couch to eat it. After I was finished, I passed out asleep with my phone in the new room, in another room in the house. And poor Jay's texting me, calling me. He thinks I've died.
I'm just glad you weren't on the side of the road. You know what I mean?
And I was snoring away, and then I finally wake up, and it's like, oh, shit.
Probably for the best. Last time you left me and DK in charge, we killed the podcast.
There is some truth to that.
I had Rick Del Santo to be here with you guys. He would have corralled you back in.
Really?
You should.
How
You
long
should have
do you
got.
think it's taken us to corrupt him?
You should have got Vordell Walker.
Oh shit! Good night, everybody. All right,
Did we
guys.
have somebody else besides Vordell that night? By the way, DK, I swear we thought we had another.
We probably did. That was a very. Vordell brought somebody on. I don't remember who, or somebody called in because he was there. It was obviously a setup, and it was yeah, it's hard to believe we used to take calls.
You know, there's a way that we could do that.
It didn't work last time. Let's not do it again.
All right, guys. Well, we're at 2 hours. So we're going to call it a night. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be here next week. Make sure to stay tuned to all of the Alliance blog social medias for all cool stuff like videos, matches, and matches. Did I say match? I don't put up matches. Photos and TikTok videos where I'm dancing.
And counters.
Counters.
You know. All right, guys.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.